Why it won't make any sense to buy a gas-powered car by 2025. That's what we're talking about today. My name is Eugene, and this is Verdant Growth. The automobile hasn't changed much in about 100 years. Sure, we've added things like power steering, air conditioning, and seat belts, and made them more efficient. But essentially, the automobile has remained basically unchanged since about the 1920s. But it's about to, in a big way. The electric vehicle, or EV, continues to drop in price and will soon become very competitive with gasoline-powered cars. And because of that, the gasoline car-powered market and everything connected to it is facing industry-level disruption. According to Tony Seba in his book, Clean Disruption, Energy and Transportation, he explains 9 different reasons why, by 2030, the electric vehicle is going to massively disrupt the transportation industry. If you are interested in this and want to learn more, I highly recommend buying this book. It's really good. But today, we're just going to be talking a little bit about his 9 different reasons. So here we go. Let's talk EVs. Number 1, the electric motor is 5 times more energy efficient than a gasoline-powered motor. Gasoline is a very energy-dense fuel. It can hold a lot of energy for just a small amount of space. However, due to energy losses in converting that gasoline into power that moves your car forward, as much as 79% of that energy from the gasoline is lost. That energy loss is due mostly to the friction of all the moving parts inside of your car's engine, but also due to things like wind resistance, braking, and parasitic losses from all the things like the motors powering the fans in your car. The exact efficiency varies from car to car, but even the best internal combustion engines still run with an efficiency of about 20 to 25%. In the case of an electric motor, there's a lot less moving parts. No pistons, no crankshafts, and because of that, we have a lot less losses to friction. An electric motor itself has an efficiency of almost 99%. So even if you add those losses from the friction and the wind resistance and the other motors inside of your car, even a Tesla Roadster still has an energy efficiency of about 88%. So that means that for the amount of energy that you put into your car, a Tesla Roadster is going to get more than 3 times the distance out of the same amount of energy as even the best internal combustion engine cars. Number 2. Electric vehicles are as much as 10 times cheaper to charge. Clean Disruption compared 2 different cars, a Jeep Liberty and a Tesla Roadster. Assuming that in a year, those vehicles would drive about 12,000 miles, he compared the amount of money that it would cost to power both of those vehicles. Granted, the Jeep Liberty is not exactly the best example of fuel efficiency that you can get, but it's the example he used, so it's the example we're going to go with here. According to Consumer Reports, to fuel a Jeep Liberty that drives 12,000 miles a year, it would cost about $3,000 a year. For the Tesla Roadster, it would cost approximately $313 for the same amount of distance traveled. That's an insane amount of energy savings. Yes, the Tesla Roadster is going to be a lot lighter and a lot more efficient than the Jeep Liberty, but still, that's still a really impressive amount of mileage that you can get for just $300 of fuel. Number 3. Electric vehicles are up to 10 times cheaper to maintain. As I mentioned before, electric motors have a lot less moving parts than a gasoline-powered engine does. Just to name a few, an electric motor doesn't need oil, spark plugs, fuel injectors, filters, or exhaust systems. More parts means more things that you might have to replace or things that could possibly break down. So by having a car that's just made of less parts and just made more simply, you're a lot less likely to have to replace parts. It also means no oil changes or spark plug changes. Even brake pad changes become a lot less because your car uses a lot of braking regeneration. That is, It uses the motors to slow down the car, regenerating that power and charging the batteries. It means you just don't press the brakes quite as much as you do with a gasoline-powered car. Some estimates suggest that electric cars are as much as 90% cheaper to maintain, and so that is a cost savings that you can't ignore. Number 4, electric vehicles will disrupt the gasoline car aftermarket. This is kind of a corollary to number 3, but when you have a lot less parts to change and replace, it means that a lot of the stores and places that sell those parts are gonna go out of business. And as those stores go out of business, it's going to become harder and harder to find parts for your gasoline-powered car, which makes it just that much harder to own a gas-powered car. Number 5, wireless charging. Ever seen one of these? It's an induction charger for a smartphone. By simply placing your cell phone on top of one of these panels, you can charge your phone. That same technology, in theory, could be applied to electric cars. That would make it just that much easier to charge your car. Imagine, you would just drive home, pull into your garage, and just go into your house. And just like that, your car would charge. You'd never have to go to a gas station again. You'd never have to use one of those things to plug your car in again. It would just charge anytime you're at home. And if you're thinking, hold on, Eugene, that technology is still gonna be way far away, then you might wanna think again. It's already being used in Italy with buses. They have an entire fleet of electric buses that run on an induction charging system. They installed induction chargers into every single bus stop so that every time the buses make a stop, they stop over one of these plates that charges the battery just a little bit and gives them that little bit of extra go power. It means it keeps their fleets in service longer so that they have less downtime charging. We may even see a day where your car will just charge every time you stop at a red light, or charge every time you park it on the street. Number 6. The EV has modular design architecture. In a gas-powered car, it never really made sense to have more than one engine. They're big and heavy and bulky. Not so with the electric motor. With an electric motor, you can have an electric motor on each wheel if you wanted to. That means your EV's computer could independently control the traction in each wheel, giving you more flexibility and control over your car. This could make a huge difference in efficiency and safety. It also means that if one of your motors were to break down, the other 3 could still run and your car would still be able to drive. And if you want to see something really cool with this technology, check out the Nissan Pivo 3. It is able to rotate all of its wheels up to 360 degrees, so it can just pull into a parking space sideways. How cool is that? Number 7, big data and fast product development. EVs are controlled by a computer, much like a smartphone. And just like a smartphone, that means they're also really good at collecting data. Ignoring the whole debate over whether car companies should be collecting more of your data, it does allow those companies to be able to identify problems and customer usage habits so that they can improve your car experience. That means for EVs, the development cycle is much faster. The companies can quickly adjust to consumers' needs. Have you ever woken up in the morning to find that your gasoline-powered car can suddenly go farther on the same amount of fuel? Probably not. But that is sometimes the case with electric vehicles. Tesla is well known for frequently releasing over-the-air updates that updates the software of your car overnight. Because of those updates, the car can learn to drive more efficiently. And some people have woken up in the morning to find that suddenly their car can go a lot further based on the same amount of charge. It also means that sometimes Tesla is adding safety features and improving their self-driving systems without you even having to do anything at all. They even add things like YouTube and Netflix to your car so that you can watch anytime you're parked. Number 8. Solar and electric vehicles are 400 times more land efficient. What do I mean by land efficient? Well, If you imagine how much land that they need to mine all the fossil fuels required to power the entire US transportation industry, you can imagine that that land is going to be pretty big. Tony Seba did that analysis. He figured that to power the entire US transportation industry, you would need 429,000 square miles of land to get enough fuel to power all of that transportation. But if we were to convert all of those cars magically into EVs and powered them all with solar power, and we just assumed that all of those cars had about the efficiency of a Nissan Leaf, you could power all US ground transportation with just 875 square miles of solar panels. That's just a 29 mile by 29 mile square of solar panels. This is a level of land efficiency that oil is just never ever going to be able to reach. Number 9, electric vehicles can contribute to smart grid energy storage. The future energy grid will be dominated by solar and wind. There's no question about it. These days, solar and wind are both cheaper to use than coal. Because of that, the pure economics alone means that we're going to start to see a lot more solar and a lot more wind energy going into our grid. And that's going to mean that our grid is going to be made smart in order to adapt to all the different amounts of energy that are coming in from the various different sources. The problem with solar and wind is that it's really hard to produce power when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. So that means you need storage. And storage can be very, very expensive. And this is where your EV can help. Your EV is basically a big battery with motors on wheels. This means that anytime you're not using your car, you could just have it connected to the grid, and grid operators could store energy in your car and then pull from it whenever they need. Your car would be helping the energy grid meet demand. Of course, in exchange for that service, you would be paid by your energy utility. I don't know about you, but I would gladly take $100 a month to allow grid operators to use my battery when I'm not using it. Your car would just be making you money by sitting in your garage at home. Keep in mind, we haven't even talked about self-driving yet, and that is probably one of the biggest reasons that the EV market is going to soon disrupt the entire internal combustion engine market. Self-driving is still in its infancy, and it still has a ways to go, but as I said before, these cars are constantly being updated all the time. So if your car has the ability to self-drive right now, even if it's not really good at it yet, it will be in the future. Every single Tesla that's out on the road right now is learning how to drive better. It's learning how you drive. It's learning to read all the different symbols on the road. And not only that, all of that learning that it does is then transmitted through the network. That means that the experience of your car is not just the experience of your car, but it becomes the experience of every Tesla out there on the road. This means that the entire network of cars is learning how to drive very quickly. It is very possible that within the next 5 years, we're going to see cars that are 95% capable of driving themselves with no intervention at all from the driver. And once those cars reach 100% full self-driving, there's really not going to be any more reason to drive a gasoline-powered car anymore. Those full self-driving cars will be more efficient and safer than any human driver. I mean, imagine it. You're going to be in your car just reading a book, watching a movie, or drinking coffee while your car just drives you to wherever you want to go. The convenience alone is going to mean that everybody is just going to want to switch to an electric vehicle for most of their driving needs. Saying an electric vehicle is just a different way to drive around is like saying that an iPhone is just a different way to make phone calls. It can, but it does so much more than that. Electric vehicles are going to disrupt the transportation industry to the point that it won't make any more sense to drive a gasoline-powered car as it does to ride a horse for your transportation. And for those of you who really love your gasoline-powered cars, it's important to recognize that those gasoline-powered cars are not going to go away completely. They're still going to be around for those who really like them. It's going to be kind of like the film camera. For those people who really love to shoot film, you're still going to be able to buy film and film cameras. It's just going to be a little bit more pricey to do so. But for the majority of people, the convenience of digital is just so much better that most people are going to switch to digital cameras, and in that same way, most people will switch to EVs. Thank you to Tony Seba. His book, Clean Disruption, Energy and Transportation, is so good. I highly recommend everybody goes out and gets that book, reads it. It's great. It gave me such a nice positive outlook on the future of energy. And thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button down below, and comment down below as well. What do you guys think of electric vehicles? Do you have an electric vehicle? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Eugene, Verdant Growth.